Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to continue on with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's special selection comes at us from Andrew. Hey, Bryan, as of writing this, I have two special selections for Consider the Source. We've gotten to both of those by now. I really hope you like their bassist John Ferrara, because here he is again, this time in a duo with drummer Seth Moutal. This show at the Museum of Modern Renaissance is absolutely phenomenal from start to finish, so it's impossible for me to pick a best song to show you. Now, funny enough, the rest of this message was, you should check out Frail Things. But because it was impossible to pick a best song, I suppose, that decision changed between then and now, and we're actually listening to a different song from the same performance called Jackie Chan. So, let's dig into this and see what's going on. Well, that's one way to start us track. Oh, and they're doing live looping. Oh, yeah. What a tasty groove to fit inside of those accents the bass is throwing down. Oh, yeah. Oh, we got traditional stick placement in the left hand there. What is going on with the... I gotta see the drums. Is that the bass kick? So, there's a weird... It is the bass kick. It's a very wet bass sound. That's why I'm asking. It's almost like there's snare beats on the bass kick. What is with this stick holding? Yeah, bringing it back. This is that second lick that we heard. Golly.
I primarily use the two-handed tapping technique in this group. I think of my
It seems I muted myself. I was saying, to have been there in that audience would have just been phenomenal. And also, my eyes are watering. They still aren't. Like, that was just... that is an intense performance. Now, this analysis going forward, I want to split it into two parts because I think this is definitely where my two states of mind are while listening to this. One is the performance and one is the song. I think they deserve to be split apart because I'm going to be a little nicer on one than the other. um, so let's start with the positives. The performance. Golly. So, I've talked about this before, right? One of the cool things about seeing live music, not just listening to it, is the physical component of it, right? And this is something that I've commented on with a lot of live performances that we've checked out, especially ones that push the performers to their limits, is body language, right? I forget, we listened to one song last month, I think it was, and like, oh, you know what it was? It was that really cool synthesizer and drum group. I think it was a special selection. It was like a drummer who was like also doing keyboard on one side and like somebody with two keyboards, just super technical stuff. And like at the end of it, they ended on this huge, massive moment. Like they were like super tense, and then they realized like they nailed it. It just like released that, they relaxed, right? And just like seeing them get into it, and like right here, both of these dudes just really getting into the music. John specifically on the bass, just it almost feels like the music is flowing through him. He can't play these rhythms without his body enacting the exact same rhythms. There was one part where his legs, he was sitting and both of his legs were going up and down. I think he was resting on like the balls of his feet and like planting the heels down and bringing the heels back up. Both legs, though, at like the same 16th note rhythm that he was playing. It just oozes out of him, and you can really it's exciting for me. I don't know about everybody else. Maybe some people don't connect to this like I do. Um, but yeah, just seeing this, it puts energy inside of me. It elevates a performance just knowing that this isn't some rote performance. This isn't just another gig on the road. This isn't just their 30th performance this week where they've kind of grown numb to the live playing. This feels like a once in a lifetime performance of this. I don't know if it is. Maybe this was something they were on tour for and this was really late into the tour, but they give off the energy of playing it for the first time. And I just love that. You can tell it's everything in their body. I mean, um you look at Seth over there when he starts ramping it up on the drums, and it's everywhere. His head, he's like shifting back and forth. He's head banging. His arms are going crazy. Legs are going crazy. It is him. It's no longer about a person playing the drums. It's about the drum performance. They are one in the same. There's such an overlap of where the instrument and the musician, where one ends and the other begins. And it's just performances like these that just really they bring a tear to my eye, quite quite literally. um because it's these people can't exist without music, and to see them in such form, it's just it's art, plain and simple. Now, aside from body language, we also just have to talk about the sheer technicality of this. Listening to it, I think I'd be able to pick up that it's a highly technical song, but having the visuals and seeing just how technical it is just adds on to it. Seeing that it's not just two-handed tapping on the bass, but how quickly he has to tap, how quickly he needs to move his hand. Some of these tapping things are like 5, 6 frets apart. Every other note, just constantly moving the hand back and forth on the fret, on the neck to get to the right frets, while also making sure you're hitting the right string with the right finger, and like just the intricate dance that his 4 or 5 fingers are doing. Sometimes six. I think he uses the first 3 fingers on both hands. Some cases. It is just phenomenal to watch somebody work at this level. And the drummer too. Uh, I honestly have no idea what's going on with the drums half the time. There's especially when we got to the end, I swear I saw one hit come down and like 4 notes came out of it. And like I understand drums roll. I played percussion for an entire year of my life in school, both in marching and concert bands. Um, like I understand how to roll a stick. It's something I had to learn to do. But it's just the sheer speed though. It's not just about the fact that like 4 hits come out of it. It's that he's also playing so quickly. And there's like there's not even time for 4 rolls to come out, or 3 rolls, 4 attacks to come out before he's shifting off to another part of the kit. It's just I don't know. The rolls are so tight and precise, and that doesn't even take into account all the other little nuances that's going on. Finding the groove in some of these places. The bass tends to start each of our sections, and the drummer has to find a groove from that, despite the fact that our bassist is already throwing down a pattern of accents, creating their own groove, and the drummer consistently does not want to sit within that and finds a counter groove and just yes, it's so good every time. Um, and I gotta ask, what's up with the sticking though? By the end of the song, he used modern sticking for everything, and it looked pretty natural. But there in the middle, he had this weird traditional holding where you hold with an upside down hand and the stick comes in through the middle 2 fingers, and you just kind of have like this kind of movement. I don't know. I'm terrible at traditional, so take that with a grain of salt. It might be a little off. But the weird thing is though is that it wasn't super traditional. Like it had the upside down, the palm up hand with the stick going through the middle, but he also kind of was angling it down. So he's kind of like thrusting the stick into the snare rather than dropping it on it, which was really weird. But then later on, he went to modern sticking with both hands and still was kind of like poking the drum kits. And so the drum kit, if any, especially drummers, have insight into that, was that just for specific timbres? Was that for looks? Was there something specific you wanted to get out of those sections, specific sounds? It looked very odd to me, but given that uh, dude looks like he knows his way around a drum kit, I'm gonna just give him the benefit of the doubt that it was necessary for whatever reason, whether it was a musical one or a showmanship one. But it definitely it caught my attention. And I think that pretty much wraps up the performative side. It is a joy to watch these. I can't even imagine what it would be like to sit in the front row here and witness this, especially if you didn't know what you were in for. You just show up at the museum because you went to look at some art and you like, oh, there's also a concert today. Drum and bass, I can get behind that. And you show up to this. Just the sheer goosebumps of walking into this with no knowledge. Just I can't even fathom it. I mean, I kind of did it, but I'm missing that electricity of live. I didn't know what I was in store for. I mean, I kind of did. I knew the bassist. He's pretty sick from checking out Consider the Source, but I had no idea this song was going to be like this. Speaking of the song, though, it is time to move into the musical component of this analysis, and I'm not as stoked about it. There were some really nice segments. When the bass kicked on the overdrive while the two of them were already going. I think yeah. The bass was doing the finger tapping, the drums were already in doing the counter rhythm, and then kicked in the overdrive and it added in these overtones. Like you could still hear the acoustic hits of each of the taps. But then you also got the grit alongside it. It didn't cover it up, and it was just really nice. It almost sounded like layering, which I suppose is possible. We have a lot of electrical stuff going on here, so it doesn't surprise me that there's a way that they could have had one input go out to two outputs to get a clean through one speaker and a distorted through the other. If that's what happened, I don't know. I didn't see any microphones picking up the tapping itself. Maybe I missed that. Um, but yeah, just it felt like layering. It didn't feel like turning the distortion on. It felt like adding another bass to the picture, and it just really works. It just I don't remember what I did. I remember I got excited when I heard it, and I was probably like yeah or something like that. But it just worked so well that that texture comes in and just expands the sound and adds all this its energy, this momentum to it. It's already driving. I honestly, if they had just stuck with the clean electric the whole time, I don't think I would have really wanted anything more. But knowing that that's in there now, like I'm so glad they went in that direction. It adds so much. And later on we did it again. We switched back to clean exclusive, and then we added on the distortion layer at the end of the track, and just again, it's such a good thing. Another thing that I really loved was the counter melody, or I guess in this case, counter what is it? Rhythm. Like I had mentioned earlier, the bass comes in first for a lot of these sections and lays down a series of notes with accents to create a rhythm there. And the drummer consistently comes in and says, that's a fine rhythm, but here's mine. And then just how the two accented beats, the one that the bassist is delivering, the one that the drum's delivering, interplay with each other. It is so good. And I don't even know what the time signatures were in any of these sections. They weren't in 4/4 as far as I could tell, but I honestly didn't take the time to figure it out. I started to once and I hit like 7 and I kind of got flipped and I was like, oh, maybe it's not 7, maybe it's 6. I was like, you know what? I don't care. I really don't. I can't not pay attention to what's going on here. Maybe I'll figure out time signature on another listen, but right now I just want to enjoy this. And I did. I just told my brain, I was like, shut up. We're gonna enjoy some music right now. Um, but yeah, so they play around some really fun time signatures and find ways to make them groovy though, with dual grooves going on, which is just even more fun. It just adds another layer on this phenomenal stuff. Now, I did say I was going to be a little less nice to one of these sections, and this is it. The music, the song as a whole, I think doesn't flow well. I think that's my biggest problem. Like with a lot of overly technical, proggy stuff, it tends to get a little too technical, and it kind of loses flow. Sometimes, depending on the track, I might call it the soul of the music. I think the soul's still here. You can feel it in their performance, but I think if I had listened to this without the visuals, I might have commented on it that way. The music just seems to be a vehicle to roughly get us between all of these fantastic ideas, and that's what it ends up feeling to me is a series of phenomenal ideas. I don't feel like any of them really flow together outside of the similarities they share, which is technical drumming, polyrhythmic concepts, and multiple hand tapping. They're all sort of based on the same ideas. They just don't thematically, narratively move into each other. They just kind of exist together, played within the same space. Um, and I wish that there was a little bit more connectivity between all the disparate sections. And again, that's not to say that it ruined my enjoyment. I had a blast listening to this, but uh, it does feel like a showmanship piece where it's something I would show people, hey, check this out. These dudes are crazy. But as far as if I would go listen to it again on myself, it would be for the spectacle. I catch a rogue memory months down the line. Ah, oh, dude, that John and Seth gig at that museum. Man, I'd love to see that tapping again. It's not I would like to check out the music again. I would love to see that tapping. I'd love to see that drum work again. I'm hoping that this is just one of the more technical works of the concert, and that some of the other stuff has more flow throughout them. This one is impressive to view, and I'd love to have been there to see this live. But I do feel like it's just a little weak in connecting everything together, which isn't a bad thing. A lot of prog music has that problem, if that's what you want to call it. Uh, Connecting things is for more mainstream music with simpler ideas. Um, kind of joke about that, but the more technical you get, the more difficult it becomes to tie things together. Disjointed sections tend to they're just a part of it, and sometimes it's for good. Some people really love it. And I'll admit that there's certain times when it really works thematically, and I'm glad they went that direction. But just on a general musical concept without a theme to tie it all together, why is the song called Jackie Chan? But really, that's my only gripe, and I think that's not a big one to have, honestly. I do have a question about the foot piano, though. Does anybody know what was going on there? I honestly thought it was to control the pitches of the looped bass line, but I don't know that I heard that. I saw him switch feet, but it didn't sound like the pitches of that looped line changed, and I didn't hear a synth or anything holding out these long tones because he was holding these notes for many beats. They were probably whole notes. Um, uh, he was obviously controlling something, but I couldn't hear it. I was wondering if anybody had some insight into that. Also, I love the fact that it was looped, and that's just not something we see too often in rock and metal. That was pretty neat. Oh, and the last thing, dude, the eye contact. I don't know what it is. When musicians look at each other dead in the eyes and they start going crazy, I'm like, these guys get each other. Every time I see it, I'm like, this is a tight group. They know it. There is this video, just to segue a little bit since I'm done talking about the song, I think. There's this video from Scary Pockets featuring. Oh, I hate myself. I can't remember the dude's name. Phenomenal funks. I mean, he can sing a lot of styles, but funk seems to be what I've seen him do a lot of, and he does it phenomenally. Um, what did I call it? The band Scary Pockets. I don't know what I called them before, but my memory is like you said the wrong name. Anyways, they did a cover of Toxicity, a funk cover of Toxicity, I think it was. Um, and just like the way that they just like when they're getting ready to line up ideas and they just like lock eyes and they just get into it and like just the sheer joy of this group of people, like I don't know, I love seeing stuff like that. And this performance right here, it's just it's right up there with these two people. Not only does music flow through them, but they work together so well, and you can tell that they have so much fun working with each other. They're just a pair that were destined to meet, I think. Those are my thoughts on John Ferrara and Seth Moutal at the Museum of Modern Renaissance playing Jackie Chan. It's Ree Alchemy. Let me know what you thought of this performance. Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Anything that stood out to you? I had a couple questions. If you have answers for those, put any and all of that in the comments section. Above that is a description box. In there is a link for Linktree. Takes you to this menu right here. Has links for everything related to the channel. You can find multiple ways to support the channel. A link to my music, a link to the Discord community, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today. That wraps it up for this week. There's nothing coming up over the weekend. It is the last empty weekend, well, of the year. We do have New Year's going on over the weekend. Enjoy that, doing whatever festivities or traditions or whatever you do. And we'll meet back on Monday. We'll start going back over what we normally do. We'll have our themed weeks. We'll have our live streams on Sunday, our album reviews on Saturday. Everything will get back to normal. But there will be a new normal thing. Things are changing. Look out for a channel update at the beginning of next year to explain some of the directions we're going to be taking this. All right, I have rambled on too long. Remember to be critical, not cynical. Have a fantastic rest of your year, and I hope to see you next year.